So good morning. I have the pleasure of being able to introduce to you Huy. Maybe some of you heard her background last night when she was given the Hall of Fame award. I have to tell you that she is such an inspiration to every woman and man in this, especially in the United States. You know, she is an epitome of if you think you can make it happen. And if you dream it, it can happen. I encourage everybody to go read what she's written that's out on the NASA site. Because if you don't have a tear in your eye from reading it, I don't know why not, because it is so amazing to come with nothing and to have her family value education and move her from South Dakota to Oakland, California, to realize that Oakland didn't have a strong enough school district for the family, to move to Sunnyvale, to live in a very small apartment with a whole family, and then to keep her dream alive that had happened 10, 15 years earlier, to climb a tree to understand what was going on in the world. That's we. So what she has done for this industry and trailblazing in these many years to bring it to where we are today. I know we talked last night and we talked about how much change has happened in the last, let's say, 20 years or so, and what you're thinking about for the future. Why don't you share with everybody, Huy, a second, and tell them about what you shared with me about Mars and your exploration with Mars, some of those, and then some of the facts that you shared with me that I wasn't even aware of, and I'm sure the audience isn't as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky in my career. I have good mentor and I have my parents and my family, value education as you indicated. But I started my career as a test engineer, and then I was able to work on Mars mission, the first Mars since the Viking. And I was put in charge of validation of the heat shield that was used on Viking, so that we can enter Mars at a higher velocity. So that's my first time working on Mars. And if you remember, the Mars Pathfinder have a little rover about a shoe-sized box that called Sojourner. That captured the imagination of everyone, including the kids. How Mars exploration is so important. So that's why I started my career, was exploring Mars, and our team was responsible for the reentry, which means that we protecting the rover or whatever it is, the spacecraft during the what they call 7 minutes of hell. And once that's done, our job is done. The first image coming home, we look at each other and say, it works, and we move forward. But I was lucky to be able to do that, and then go on to work on other mission for Mars exploration. And the way that Mars work exploration, as I mentioned, we have a little Sojourner as a demonstration, technology demonstration for a rover. And then it grow into a bigger rover, right? And now you have like a Humvee, the latest Mars 2020 have a Perseverance on there. But then the rover have some limitation because it takes a long time for it to travel between places. So in 2015 or so, there's a group of people from JP and from Ames. We talked together and we said, what happened if we can fly on Mars? Introducing aviation to Mars. And that was exciting, right? And on Earth, we have been flying helicopter for a long, long, long time. So can we use that technology? Can we use that knowledge and our knowledge of Mars atmosphere? And can we put a little helicopter on there? And that's what our team did with JPL. So if you think about innovation, right? Bringing aviation to Mars, the exploration of Mars opened up so large. Because with the rover, it have limitation, like I said, traversing. 1 kilometer traversing can take days.
So I don't know if everybody caught that, but what we are saying is 1 kilometer can take multiple days to be able to explore.
Yes, right. Now for a helicopter, 20 minutes, right? And as we study more future mission on other planets, and especially Mars, aviation, in this case helicopter, can open up a lot of places. We can fly around the edges of the crater and be able to have the instrument to scan it. We can go down to the crater.
Because she was explaining to me last night that the rover can't go into the craters because it could tip over and then destroy the entire mission.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it can't go on the edge either. That's right. So that's why it not all one or the other. And again, it's a connected world, right? We talk about connected drone to cars to whatever devices that we are planning to have. Same thing on Mars. We're connecting the helicopter or drone, we call it. It's a drone, right?
Right.
It's a helicopter, it's a drone per se, to the rover and to the satellite. So we can see now this kind of innovation and connectivity that going to open a huge ability for us to explore Mars and maybe to be able to send humans to Mars.
So very fascinating.
So I'm very excited. Unfortunately, I've done very little technical work on that, but I'm helping my younger team working on that, and we have a really good team, and they have the innovation, they have the drive, and they have the passion to explore Mars.
So tell everybody where your team is located.
So most of the technical team is located at NASA Ames Research Center in Moffett Field. We work with our JPL colleague. They are more of the, they work with industry to build the helicopter itself. We provide them with the study, the design, the analysis, and making sure that, because of the Mars atmosphere is thinner than Earth, so you have to do a coaxial rotor, and how fast can it spin to be able to provide the lift that needed. Looking at envelope expansion of the current system right now to the future to support Mars sample return. So it's a combination between JPL team and NASA Ames team. So we are embarking on the new frontier for us, and it doesn't have to be just on Mars, right? It's
Interesting.
It's there are other missions that Dragonfly also using helicopter. So I'm seeing that aviation going to leave Earth, right? And we're going to use that to explore. There might be we figured out how to do it on the moon too.
Very interesting. Now tell us a little bit about how you feel that students what they need to take to become like you. If somebody looked at this video and said, wow, that's a neat job that she has.
Yeah.
What would you tell them to study, or what would you tell them to do?
Well, of course, it's a STEM area, so math, physics, chemistry. But I would suggest, now that I have time to look back a little bit, I think that some what I call non-technical courses is actually important. Communication is huge. You have to be able to communicate and articulate what your idea that you have in mind. Take a good be a good writer. It's a really important skill. You have to be able to write. You have to be able to write. You have to be able to explain in a short order of what you mean. But I think that there is a way, and it's because the industry is growing, right, and the connectivity between discipline is still now important. The multidisciplinary kind of
Approach to learning.
approach to learning is so important that I think that bringing the arts, side the art, allow the engineer or the technical folks to be able to be much more creative. But also, you know, for me, hands-on experience is so important. I'm not a software person.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not a software person. I kind of understand it, but I love to work with my hand. I fix car. I change oil. You name it. I do electrical work at home. So, so hand-on work is very important. And I think that when we start getting the kid to, play with the Lego blocks, right?
Yep.
Building things, that's the imagination that we need to have the children to start, the younger one to start thinking about.
Now, I read in your bio that you had taken some internships that took advantage of some scholarships and some internships for learning. For those folks that may not be in the Bay Area or in California, for some California as well, is there some internships or things in other areas that they could take advantage of, even in high school, that would help prepare them for college and this type of a career?
Yeah, so there are 10 NASA centers across the country, so there are, what I understand is that you can apply for internship at NASA as a high school. So you can do that. I would suggest the student reach out to people at their local of their NASA center. Houston has one, Langley at Virginia, even at headquarters, Washington D.C. do internship. So at Goddard at Maryland and Glenn in Ohio and Marshall, all the 10 NASA centers. I think that would be something good to do. But for me, because where I came from, it's important for us to actually reaching out to what I call is the underrepresented group, because the internship the official internship program have a pretty high requirement for the student, and I wouldn't have made it if I applied today. So we're trying to figure a way to actually bringing the group of people that don't have the opportunity, to give them the opportunity in the internship. So
Very interesting. So is there a group that a teacher could write to in some of these rural schools? Just write to one of the centers, the local centers?
Yeah.
Maybe they could have somebody that come and speak with them, right?
Yes.
Speak with the class and the inspiration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have that.
Very interesting. Okay, great. And I know about Huntsville, the Space Institute
Yes.
in Huntsville.
Yeah.
I've referred a lot of families to that, and I
Yeah.
know that they've come back and said it was a game changer for their children and for their family, because you can either send your children or you can be as a family and go to the space camp for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And so that has
so
been
awesome.
that's been a very big an encouragement and momentum for those children. What about partnerships? PK talked a little bit about it yesterday. There's a lot of work going on with private and NASA together, trying to work through different challenges that we have. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we, NASA, we are a public funded institution. So our job is to do the research, partner with the industry, and bringing the people in the same industry together to work on the challenges. For example, UTM, the UAS traffic management. When we started that in 2015-ish or so, it's just an infancy of drone industry at that time, right? And we go out with a call, and we have hundreds and hundreds of companies want to partner with us. And it's one of those things that you have big companies, small company, startup popping somebody from the garage. But that's what we need to do. That's what we have to do. Not just a large company, but that the span and the range of all the companies, startup, or just somebody wanted to do the work on this. So yeah, partnership is extremely important to us. And the latest one is a BV loss, right? Work that we have to do. We need to make sure that drone can fly in multiple conditions so that we can open up this industry to be an economic sector for the U.S. leadership.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And let's not lose our leadership in that
Yes.
sector. We don't want our smaller startups and the energy that has been created over the last 10 years to dissipate.
Yeah.
I know that there's been a lot of discussions in the last 3 days of where are all the startups and where is all the new consumer goods, and they're not here. And they're not, the tech floor is very small with the startup area this year.
Yeah.
And so because the funding has been so far down, so we don't want to lose what has been created.
Yeah.
There's also a couple of other industry partnerships. There's one on public safety too.
Yes. And we actually, I think that public good use case is very important for drone, but also for AAM of the future, eVTOL. So there's a lot of company investing quite a bit of funding for that market sector. And I think the public goods use case is so important. Can we use drone to deliver medicine, which a lot of companies have been doing already. And hopefully with the VV loss work that we're going to challenge it, and we hopefully addressing soon will increase that. But also, we're talking about wildfire, right? The U.S. Forest Services has already used drone to do the backfire, but also to monitoring the fire. So can we, our plan or our work is trying to help that kind of government entity, CAL FIRE for California, U.S. Forest Services. How are we going to manage the drone and the manned aircraft for doing suppression? Because right now, one or the other, they can't fly both. Can we help
People
them?
don't realize that, right?
Yeah, right.
PK said, what did PK say about the hours?
Yeah, so it's like the area suppression, they can only do between 4 to 6 hours at best. But when the fire gets so big, they can't even do that. So NASA now having a new project that we started called ACERO, Advanced Capability for Emergency Response Operation, is that we are hoping to use the autonomy, right, technology that the industry actually is very good at. How do we bring all of this industry together and help us to what we call a second shift, which means can we do fire suppression, fire suppression in the evening, right? That's when the fire most calm down. So, and not putting the pilot or the firefighter in danger. So very exciting about it. We starting it just this year. And we are hoping to be able to do some demonstration with our partners. So I'm very excited about it because this is something very important for us to do.
Well, I hope so, because I don't know if everybody knows, but in the United States, and this has been a repeated multi-year fact, one every 17 days there's a helicopter fatality. So while it isn't hitting the news, it is continual, it's happening. And there's been, in the last fires in California, there were a number of crashes, collisions, and deaths. And so if we can do anything to support that, would be...
Yep, we sure hope so. And we're on it.
As we close, what are your 3 predictions for the industry, for NASA, for the future, for technology?
For NASA, I think it's going to be very important, very exciting. We just completed Artemis 1, so here we go. We got the big rocket finally flying, so it's a great year. I think moon exploration going to be exciting. It does not have to be just rover. Again, we can bring aviation to bear like I said in the past few years, that eventually we're going to have to learn how to manage the lunar traffic management, right? As we have commercial people, we have other countries, we need to be able to do that. And then I think that for aviation, the drone industry, I think that if we can address some of these challenges we talk about, I think it's going to be explosion. There's a lot of altitude between the ground and 16,000 feet. So there's a lot of them. So, supersonic flight would be going through. I'm so excited to take aviation off Earth and to other planets. So, and I think the eVTOL industry going to take off because there's so many public good use case that so would benefit from this technology, and to be able to connect different community together. Opening up the market, and ensuring the U.S. leadership in this area is so important.
Yes, it is.
Aviation is an important economic sector for the U.S., so we need to keep it, and we need to continue to make sure that we lead it, right?
And lead it and bring the students and the younger generation into it, because it
Yes.
is pretty cool.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all the service to the United States that you have done, and all your research to change all of our lives, and look forward to some more new things coming from you and your teams.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thank you.